You may have been doing the Holly Gully. I want to take you back to a time where you knew a certain song. And I want you to hold on to this song throughout the sermon, and I promise it will make sense at the end. Don't write me off altogether. Listen to the song, hold on to it, and I promise it will make sense at the end. The song said, "Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we'll rely on each other. From one lover to another. You remember that song? Okay, wonderful. That's Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, right? Wonderful. I want you all to hold on to that, and at the end of the sermon, it will make sense to you. Today, as we gather as a people of God, we lift our heads to the Maker of heaven and earth as we give thanks for what He has done for us as a nation. From Grand Bahama in the north to Inagua in the south, we remember on this day true freedom and a flourishing country are gifts rooted not merely in memorandums of understanding, treaties, or institutions, but in God's favor, wisdom, and grace. Yes, friends, God has been good to us. Therefore, I call our attention to a different piece of scripture this morning. I call our attention to Psalm chapter 33 and verse 12 when it tells us, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom He has chosen as His heritage." The writer, David, with his ancient expression, reminds us that blessedness is not a byproduct of a national wealth and military process or political influence, but the blessedness of a nation is grounded entirely in a relationship with God, the Almighty. A nation and people are only truly happy when they acknowledge, adore, obey, and are directed by that divine. To have the Lord as our God is to move beyond a simple recognition of His existence, but rather it is to enter into a covenant where we voluntarily submit to Him and place our entire alliance within His providence. As I would have said before, it is one thing to know that God provides. It is one thing to know that God provides, but another thing altogether to live within His provision. The songwriter puts it so simply. You all know it. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning, I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. You see, the excitement of this psalm is for us to recognize that as the people chose God, God also chooses His people for His inheritance. This means that God divinely elects to view His people as His treasure, taking interest in their welfare, their guidance, and their protection. But recognize also that God initiates this relationship, and we can only choose Him because He chose us first. We can only choose God because He chose us first. As a nation, we are God's possession, as we have cemented in the preamble of this nation, that we would have an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. That's what it says, eh? The preamble says, an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. When I served as an assistant curate of Christ Church Cathedral, I would have had the pleasure in ministering to Dr. Gail Saunders, who was suffering severely from Alzheimer's. You all ever heard the quote, "I have forgotten more than you will ever know"? You all ever heard that quote? I have forgotten more than you will ever know. That is how I felt sitting down with Dr. Gail Saunders. Nonetheless, even in her condition, she shared the journey of this Bahamas and underscored the majestic hand of God guiding us toward freedom, liberty, self-actualization. Though her memory faded, there were events that she thought helped to place our nation on the path to the independence we now share today, 53 years later. And for us who want a more in-depth read of our history, and I invite you to do so, I want to turn your attention to her book, Islanders in the Stream. That sound familiar? Islanders in the Stream, a history of the Bahamian people. Dr. Saunders spoke of the 1942 Burma Road riots, where workers expressed the inadequacy of the minimum daily wage. That sound familiar? My God. This is 1942. She spoke of the 1942 Burma Road riots, where workers expressed the inadequacy of minimum daily wage and the unfairness of the system whereby they went unpaid when rain